He is Assemblyman John Wisniewski, Democratic candidate for governor of New Jersey. Assemblyman, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming on. You sure you want this job?
Oh, absolutely. New Jersey needs a new kind of leadership.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000% on that. I wanted to ask you, now you represent the 19th District. You've been in the Assembly since 1996. The 19th District includes Carteret and the surrounding communities. But you were the guy responsible for starting the Bridgegate investigation. How did you come to do all of that?
You know, it's a very interesting story. It had nothing to do with the George Washington Bridge. It had everything to do with the Port Authority. And what a lot of people probably forget by now is that it started when the Port Authority raised tolls to an unprecedented level that created a $15 round-trip toll on the George Washington Bridge. And on the Transportation Committee, we wanted to understand, how did they come to those conclusions? What were the discussions about the money they needed, the revenue they had, how are they spending it? And we would ask for documents. Legislative committee to a state agency, we would ask for documents, and they would provide nothing, absolutely nothing. So we asked the Speaker of the Assembly for subpoena authority so we could subpoena the documents. And it was in the course of looking at the toll increase that they went ahead and closed the lanes on the George Washington Bridge. And we started looking at that as well, because that cost the Port Authority, and people forget about this now, that cost the Port Authority money because of the overtime and the police manpower that was needed just to do that.
And, you know, the thing is, and we've talked about here on this show, Assemblyman, is the transportation fund is broke. Remember when the governor said, we're stopping all projects? How are they broke? And then you're saying they raised the tolls. I mean, I think the Lincoln Tunnel is $15 round trip. I mean, so did you question that kind of thing?
Well, we questioned the whole premise of the size of the toll increase. Remember, almost in a movie setting, the Port Authority came out and they announced a toll increase, and the two governors said they were shocked. They were shocked at the size of the toll increase, and they demanded that it would be less. We found out later that that was a little bit of a screenplay, that it was designed to be higher than they wanted so that the governors could express their outrage. But the money for the Port Authority goes just to the Port Authority. So those toll increases have nothing to do with the Transportation Trust Fund.
Okay.
The Transportation Trust Fund is entirely separate.
Okay. All right. Do you think, in all of your investigation, do you think the governor knew about the bridge closing?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Without a doubt in my mind, just for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you listen to any of the trial testimony in federal court, just about everybody involved pointed their finger at the governor. But also, if you know this governor's management style, which is really on display just about every day of the week, there's not a thing that goes on in his operation that he's not aware of. And so it's inconceivable that some important figures like his deputy chief of staff and the deputy executive director of the Port Authority be able to freelance and him not know about it.
So you think, as many people think, that he did know about it. Okay, well let's talk about let's talk about Atlantic City. Obviously, you're on the air here in Atlantic and Cape May counties. This is the backyard of Atlantic City. Your position on the Atlantic City takeover, if elected, will you end it? Will you continue it? Or what will you do about Atlantic City's financial problems?
Well, the Atlantic City takeover is wrong. It's harmful to the public safety of the residents and the guests in Atlantic City. I mean, just take a small issue about what the state overseer wants to do with the fire department.
Yeah.
Wants to reduce the fire department by over 100 positions, and it would result in a manpower shortage where they wouldn't have enough firefighters to respond to a large structure fire.
Right.
You got a lot of large structures in Atlantic City.
And a lot of old ones, too.
And a lot of old ones. And so day one, under Governor Wisniewski, we end the takeover. We have seen in the past the state of New Jersey is perhaps uniquely unqualified to take over anything because we've seen the school districts that the state has tried to manage to no good effect. And so we know that the state does not have the skill set to manage a municipality better than the locally elected officials. What the state needs to do is give the local officials the tools, the resources, the assistance, the manpower that the state could bring to bear on any problem. Come in and say, okay, here's our skills. Here are our researchers. Here's our experts. Let's use them to find a way to re-engineer the Atlantic City economy, because that, if you really boil it down, the problem in Atlantic City is because it was a one-industry town, casinos.
Right. That's right.
And casinos are now, something like a third of the size they were, and so the revenue to the municipality has decreased by that same percentage.
Right.
We have to find new resources for Atlantic City to capitalize on. It's got one of the world's largest airports, one of the largest runways. We ought to be capitalizing on that. It's got Atlantic Ocean access. There's not a lot of resort cities that have that, and we ought to be capitalizing on that. And we ought to re-engineer the Atlantic City economy so that gaming will always be part of it, but will not be the centerpiece.
Assemblyman John Wisniewski is our guest. He is a Democratic candidate for governor. He is also the man responsible for starting the Bridgegate investigation, and he is our guest this morning here on Talk with a Purpose. We're pleased to have Assemblyman Wisniewski with us, talking about his platform, his position, should he become governor of the state of New Jersey. I want to get your position on the North Jersey casinos. Your opponent, Mr. Murphy, has gone on record as favoring it. I want to know your position on that.
I'm opposed to them, and I had been in the past in favor of it. But I will tell you, I was in favor of Atlantic City casinos when the tax base for casinos in Atlantic City was $20 billion. But when it's $6.5 billion, building a casino in North Jersey is going to lead to a withdrawal of customers from Atlantic City and only further hasten the demise of the casino industry in Atlantic City. We missed the opportunity 5-10 years ago to expand gaming statewide. And in that time, all of our neighboring states, they got the joke. They saw what we were doing with casinos, and they did us one better. And we've now got competitors outside of Philadelphia, up in the Poconos, in New York State, down in Delaware. It would be very risky and probably lead and hasten the demise of Atlantic City if we were to put casinos elsewhere in the state at this point in time.
I'm sure everyone who's listening to this program agrees, yours truly included in that. But I wanted to ask you this, Assemblyman. In the press of Atlantic City today, you probably know that the Taj Mahal closed and Hard Rock is going to buy it. 2018, they plan to open. And I thought right away, they're the ones that wanted to build the mega casino in North Jersey. Now, you're reading between the lines in this article, and it's saying, well, they want to put themselves in a good position that they may get a casino. And Mr. Gural has come out on record and said, hey, listen, I need help. I'm only a racetrack. I need a casino. It seems like there's an underlying current to go around the legislature and get this casino in North Jersey. With the Wisniewski administration, what would you do to stop that?
Well, don't forget, we need to amend our Constitution to allow a casino in North Jersey, and that did not succeed.
Right.
And so there's a time period before which that can even be revisited. And I would be opposed at this point in time in expanding casino gaming outside of Atlantic City for the reasons I just set forth. Now, I do think that there is also a potential silver lining with Hard Rock because they were dead set on being in the Meadowlands. They're coming into Atlantic City and buying a place is essentially them throwing in the towel right now for their hopes for a North Jersey casino.
Right.
Doesn't stop them in the future, but once they make that infrastructure investment in Atlantic City, they're going to have to think long and hard before they start investing in a facility that would essentially draw customers away from their facility in Atlantic City.
All right, I want to ask you this, and I know you're in the Assembly. You've been there since 1996. No secret, New Jersey has many, many financial problems. I want to know what your plans are for improving the economy, balancing the budget, and we've only had 10 credit downgrades in the Christie administration. How are you going to improve all of this and stop this?
Well, we need to invest in our economy, and that's what this governor has not done, and that is the reason why our economy hasn't grown. And that's the reason why our budget revenues have not grown, because the economy is flat. And that's all due to the policies that this governor has put into place. I'll give you a couple of examples. We have a clean energy fund, and that money used to be used to offset the installation of solar and alternative energy. The governor has cannibalized those funds for the purpose of balancing the budget, and with that, a whole sector of the economy has shriveled. We need to rededicate those funds to that sector of the economy and grow the green energy economy in New Jersey, because that creates so many good skilled jobs that create wages and create business opportunity, and that's going to create an increase in the amount of revenues the state of New Jersey collects and help our budget problems. But we also have to stop some of the foolish expenditures that we've had. This governor has been the leader in giving away corporate welfare, a number of programs all theoretically designed to attract and retain jobs. We see in many cases the thing they do best is provide bonuses to CEOs. We need to rein that in. Over the past 7 years, it's in excess of $7 billion. And when you think about our budget this year that the governor is proposing is $8 billion higher than when he took office, you have to ask the question, with $8 billion more, Governor, how do you allow the state to have 10 downgrades and can't fulfill our basic mission of educating our children and fixing our roads?
I agree with you. And, you know this better than me and most of our audience. You've been in the Assembly for 20 years. The Governor Christie seems to have this penchant for taking projections and using those projections to say, well, we're going to balance the budget because this is going to bring in X. Now, the other day, I'm sure you followed this. He gave a speech the other day, and he said, well, the lottery is going to fund the pension fund. And I mean, I'm just doing some basic math, and I'm saying, well, what about what the lottery funds now? What's going to happen to that? Didn't answer that.
Well, exactly. I mean, that was hold the phone a minute. Governor, every penny of the money you're now proposing to dedicate to the pension, no doubt a noble idea, let's dedicate money to it, is already spent.
Right.
And this is the lack of leadership we have in Trenton now, because it's not just with this pension idea. The lottery money helps veterans, disabled children, education, the list goes on. But let's talk about the Transportation Trust Fund deal that everybody cobbled together. It actually gives away more money than the state takes in from the gas tax. We're taking $1 billion a year out of the general fund so that 3,500 families get a tax break of $1 billion a year. Everybody else gets to pay the gas tax. It is unfair at a very basic level, but this is the kind of politics that we currently have going on in Trenton.
Well, isn't it also true, Assemblyman, that in that gas tax, if they don't meet certain projections, it can go up? There's some kind of a clause in there like that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a clause that basically keeps a level of funding necessary to support a $2 billion a year capital program. And so that tax can be adjusted. It's a gross receipts tax on petroleum products. But here's the thing that should be more alarming, is that at least half of that money that's coming into the new gas tax is not going to one single new project. It's going to pay for debt for projects that are long completed. And nobody in the public anticipated or expected that they were going to be paying for past projects, because we were already paying for it out of the general fund. They were told that this money was all going to go to new projects. And so it was a classic bait and switch.
Assemblyman John Wisniewski is our guest. He represents the 19th District in the New Jersey Assembly. He has been in the Assembly since 1996. He is running for the Democratic nomination for governor of the state of New Jersey. Assemblyman, what we did on our website is we announced that you were coming on, and we asked listeners to email their questions in, and we have a couple of those for you, if you don't mind. This comes from Bob in your district, in Carteret. Bob says, Mr. Wisniewski, how can you claim to be a progressive change agent when you represented clients you were passing legislation on, like red light camera companies and corporate polluters? Wasn't that a clear conflict of interest?
Well, I'm not really sure of what representation he's talking about, but I will tell you this. I have sponsored and supported legislation in Trenton to make sure that corporate polluters are paying the entire share of any environmental settlement, like the ExxonMobil one, into the state, and it all gets used for environmental cleanup purposes. I had supported legislation. I never represented anybody with regard to red light cameras, but I had supported legislation on red light cameras because I've seen every single day what happens at a lot of intersections in the state with drivers who are aggressive and are cutting the corners, and people have gotten hurt seriously. And I thought it was one way of addressing that problem. The state of New Jersey discontinued it. The statistics are not clear. But I think that the caller or the writer is mistaken in his representation.
Okay, we have one other question here specifically for you, and this is from Kevin in Summers Point. He says, Democrats often believe more government or government intervention is the best way to solve a problem. Generally speaking, do you believe that?
Well, it's a very broad question, and I believe that the government has a role to play in helping level the playing field so that everybody has an opportunity to enjoy the American dream and achieve the middle-class success that we all hope for. And so that means making sure that we fully fund our education system so that children, no matter where they live in the state, have an opportunity to obtain a good education. It means making sure we fund our higher education system and provide free college tuition for young men and women who want to go to state colleges and universities. There are lots of roles where government should play an active part, but there are also places where we could do better, and we need to be more efficient.
Assemblyman John Wisniewski, Democratic candidate for governor of New Jersey. We're talking to him. We got him for about 5 more minutes. I wanted to ask you this, Assemblyman. This whole issue of the medical marijuana in New Jersey, yes. It's like I hosted a seminar many years ago, and I saw the benefits for those who really are in pain and need it. And it seems like I don't even know where we're at with that. What's your position on medical marijuana in New Jersey?
Well, I support medical marijuana. I supported the legislation when we voted on it. I do think that this administration has used every opportunity to retard and delay and slow down the implementation of it, to make access to it very difficult. And I disagree with that because we've seen the medical proof that it is beneficial, that it does provide relief. Doctors all agree. And so as governor, I would remove those roadblocks that Governor Christie has put into place on our medical marijuana program. But I also think we need to go one step farther. We have to recognize that we have a failed war on drugs that has put so many people, largely populations of color, behind bars or given them criminal records, and we know that that war on drugs has failed. And most of those charges are from marijuana.
Right.
We need to decriminalize and legalize marijuana so that we can put that behind us. We can reallocate those police resources to where it matters most, on the opioid crisis, for example, and we need to provide relief to all of those people laboring under sentences that amount to nothing, but prevent them from getting good jobs, prevent them from voting, prevent them from doing so many parts of what is normal for everybody else, give them the amnesty and clear records that they deserve so they can be productive members of society.
I was just going to ask you as a follow-up, and you mentioned it in your answer there about legalizing recreational marijuana, and I'm not in favor of it as a moral picture, but I'm looking at Colorado and look at the money they're making. And you also mentioned, just taking away all these little misdemeanors that how many times do the police have to go through all the paperwork and arresting people for little amounts of marijuana? Do you feel as though a Wisniewski administration, would you push for not only the medical marijuana, but for legalizing recreational marijuana?
Oh, absolutely. I do think that we are misallocating very scarce resources. We are creating more problems than we're solving. And if we look at the experiment that is being conducted both in California and Colorado, as well as other nations around the world, we see that there is a model for success out there that regulates it well, that collects the revenue, and allows us to use those law enforcement and correctional resources where they really matter to provide the kind of rehabilitation for prisoners that they deserve so they can get out and become productive members of society, and we stop this incarceration trend of putting people behind bars for social crimes that have absolutely no impact on anybody else in the community.
And finally, Assemblyman, the most important question. I hope you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan.
I watch the Giants whenever I can.
Okay.
And Jerry Jones has never invited me to his box.
Right. Well, listen, that's a good thing because that got him 17% approval, among other things. So I had to ask you that question.
I think Bridgegate helped him get to 17%.
That's exactly
and
right.
Running for president.
That's exactly right. But Assemblyman John Wisniewski, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. I spoke to your people, and we will have you back again here on the show. Okay?
I look forward to it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Assemblyman John Wisniewski. He is the Democratic candidate for governor of New Jersey. As I said, he's been in the Assembly since 1996, representing the 19th District, Carteret, and surrounding communities in North Jersey. And we appreciate his time. We hope you found that helpful. I found it helpful because we have a big choice to make here in New Jersey coming up in November. Of course, the primary is coming up on June the 6th, and that will determine who will run on the Democratic side and on the Republican side. So, as I said at the start of the show, and I've said that before on the show, our attempt here on this program is to bring you as many candidates as we can. And I already spoke to Assemblyman Wisniewski's people, and they agreed that they will bring him back here on the show in the very near future. And I'm John DeMasi, 609-407-1450. That's our number here. If you want to comment on anything Assemblyman Wisniewski said, feel free. 609-407-1450. That is our number here in the studio. We will come back with more of this morning's program later on this hour. John Risley, freeholder from Atlantic County, running for re-election. We're going to talk to him about what do freeholders really do. He'll explain that for us, and we'll talk to him about his re-election campaign for freeholder in Atlantic County. Back with more of the show, but first want to send out sincerest sympathies to the Mazzeo family on the loss of their patriarch, Ben Mazzeo. I'm sure you saw that in the press and you heard about it this week. Ben Mazzeo passed away earlier in the week, and a true pioneer in South Jersey. Started this business many, many years ago. It's a family business. Now his sons, Vince and his brother, are running the business. But I just wanted to say I never met the man, unfortunately, but I heard a lot of great things about him, and I heard that many times if people went in there, they didn't have any money, give them some food. Here, pay me when you can. That kind of a person, a really good-hearted person, and he certainly will be missed, not only around BF Mazzeo, but around the community. But we do want to mention that, of course, if you've never been to BF Mazzeo, you don't know what you're missing. The finest fresh fruits and produce and prepared foods. And, it was Ash Wednesday the other day, which means we've got Easter, we've got Passover, you're going to have holiday dinners, you're coming over, and you want to go. So, I've been invited to a Passover dinner, 2 Easter dinners. So what am I going to bring? Well, listen, it's very simple. I'm going to go into BF Mazzeo. I'm going to talk to them about, hey, what do you think? And they have a catalog. I can look at that. Or they can prepare something for me. It's very simple. Prepared foods, gift baskets, fruit baskets. This is the time of year where you want to go to BF Mazzeo. And not just for that, but for your everyday needs. I've always told you the finest fresh fruits and produce and prepared foods you will find anywhere. BF Mazzeo, Chestnut Avenue, Route 9, that's New Road in Northfield, or you can shop online, bfmazzeo.com. That's bfmazzeo.com. Prepared foods, baked goods, fresh-baked homemade pies, fruit trays, cheese trays, all of that. You're probably going to need that for the holidays coming up. Before you know it, I know it's just the beginning of March, but you know what happens. You blink, and then here we are at Easter and Passover. 609-641-6608 is their number. 609-641-6608. BF Mazzeo, Chestnut Avenue, Route 9. That's New Road in Northfield. Coming back with more of the show after these words.
Tired of paying too much for your utilities? You've heard all of the different ways, and you've tried a few. But in the end, it doesn't seem to save you anything. Want to really save and do it the right way? Consider going solar. Solar energy has been around since the beginning of time, but in the last few years, we've been hearing more and more good things about it. As important as solar energy is, it's even more important to choose the right company to handle all of your solar energy needs. RCL Enterprises is an award-winning company that has been around for a long time. In fact, they specialize in solar energy. RCL Enterprises can explain how solar energy can help you and your family save money and become more energy efficient. RCL Enterprises is a family-owned and operated business and has been serving South Jersey for many years. For more information on solar energy, contact RCL Enterprises at 856-339-4014, 856-339-4014. Call for a free in-home presentation. RCL Enterprises, the leaders in South Jersey in solar energy. 856-339-4014 or visit their website, rclsolar.com.
Alimony, child support, custody, equitable distribution. These are all terms you hear when you're dealing with the end of a marriage. Unfortunate but true. So where do you turn at times like these? You need experienced, knowledgeable representation as only Cynthia Brassington can provide. For many years, Cynthia Brassington has been practicing family law in the area and has helped many deal with the trials and tribulations of a divorce. If you're thinking about it or currently facing divorce, then you should contact Cynthia Brassington at 609-601-2323. That's 609-601-2323. Conveniently located in Linwood Commons on Route 9 in Linwood, Cynthia Brassington has helped hundreds of families over the years deal with the difficulties of divorce. Make sure you receive your equitable distribution. Call Cynthia Brassington. 609-601-2323. One of life's most challenging decisions is finding the right doctor for your treatment, particularly if you've been injured. What if we told you there are specialists here in South Jersey with impeccable credentials, like sport fellowship training with the Eagles, Flyers, and the U.S. Olympic ski team? Yes, that practice is right here. Pace Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is Dr. Glenn Zuck and Dr. David Anapol. Their credentials are second to none. But more than that, at Pace Orthopedics, patients are the center of everything. Dr. Zuck and Dr. Anapol are readily available. In fact, in most cases, you can get an immediate appointment. Whether it's kids, adults, or the mature athlete, Pace Orthopedics has built a reputation for top-notch orthopedic treatment. Pace Orthopedics, where arthroscopic knees and shoulders are their specialty. Pace Orthopedics, conveniently located on Route 9. That's New Road in Summers Point and also in Cape May County. For more information or your next appointment, call 609-927-9200. That's 609-927-9200 or paceorthopedics.com. Pace Orthopedics, 25 years of experience caring for the South Jersey community. If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market, then there's only one place to go. That's Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City on Fire Road in EHT has hundreds of new and pre-owned Lexus in stock. Talk about the Lexus experience. See it for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. There is special financing, 1.9% APR on Lexus ES and IS models. Plus, there is a tremendous selection of Lexus certified pre-owned vehicles that Lexus certifies as top of the line. Stop by and say hi to Ed Sunday. Tell him you heard about it right here, and Ed guarantees you the best price. No haggle, no hassle, no negotiation. Just the best price the first time around. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, or online at aclexus.com. Toll free 866-483-1222. There's only one top-notch automobile on the market today, and that's Lexus, and only one top-notch dealer, Lexus of Atlantic City.
Your WPG Talk Radio 104.1 Accuweather Forecast for South Jersey. Windy and cold today with plenty of sunshine and a high of 38. Clear and cold this evening, low 11. Then tomorrow will be mostly cloudy with a high of 39. Partly cloudy skies tomorrow night, low 28. Then Monday we'll have some sunshine, then turning cloudy and warmer, high on Monday, 57. I'm AccuWeather's Holly Holdren on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, I always like to give out my email address, JDAD, V as in Victor, and the number 1, at Comcast.net. JDAD, V as in Victor, and the number 1, at Comcast.net. Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 104.1, and I'm John DeMasi, waiting on John Risley, Atlantic County Freeholder. He'll be with us shortly to talk about what's going on in the world of freeholders, and, of course, he's running for re-election as Atlantic County Freeholder. We try to bring on as many candidates as we can between now and the primary on June the 6th. before we get into Freeholder Risley, I was planning on doing something today about this, but I was going to do it later on. But being as that we have a few minutes waiting for Freeholder Risley, I wanted to tell you about the week that I had. You know, when you do a show, and particularly when I first got into radio, I was always taught by my superiors to go on the radio and talk about happy things and to not bring the audience down by talking about your troubles, like if you have a cold or you were sick during the week or whatever. Over the years, that's kind of relaxed. And being that this is a talk show, and you and I have gotten to know each other fairly well in the last year and a half that we've done this program, that kind of has gone by the wayside a bit. But I don't like to normally talk about this. But this week was a particularly tough week. And I remember when I was a kid, and I'm sure your mother said the same thing to you, that old saying, things happen in threes. When you hear about a death, you're going to hear about three of them. And this week, we lost three people, and I will tie this all together for you. First of all, I mentioned earlier when we were talking about B.F. Mazzeo, the patriarch of the Mazzeo family, Ben Mazzeo, passed away earlier this week. And I, unfortunately, never met Mr. Mazzeo. I heard a lot about him. And, of course, Vince Mazzeo has been on our show many times. And I've gotten to know Vince as a result of doing this program. And I also shop once a week in B.F. Mazzeo, as I have for many, many years. So I feel like there's a connection there because of Vince Mazzeo and B.F. Mazzeo and that kind of thing. Second, and you probably saw this in the press of Atlantic City this morning, a person who was very instrumental in my career. As a matter of fact, this particular program is kind of really his responsibility because I had been a radio announcer. They used to call them disc jockeys back in the day. And I had done that in the 70s and the 80s, and I was running WRDR Radio, which was a South Jersey station. And now it is our sister station, Sojo 104.9. But back then it was known as WRDR. And Jim Rodeo was the owner of the station. I went to work for him in 1987. And we had a situation where somebody wanted to do a talk show. And he said to me, you know, we need somebody to host this show. I said, who are we going to get? And he said, well, you're the perfect guy. I said, well, how did I get this honor? He said, well, you know a lot about business and you can really conduct an interview. And I had never really done that kind of thing. But as a result of him saying, well, listen, you're going to do it. And we did it and it was successful. And from that, I started hosting shows. And the next thing you know, management here calls me and says, listen, you've been doing those shows for years. Why don't you come over here? And here we are. Jim was very instrumental in my career. And he passed away on Wednesday at the age of 85. And thirdly, and probably the person who I've known of the least, but who contributed much to my life in the last year and a half, Russell Bongiovanni. Russell passed away the other day, and I got a call from his daughter on Friday telling me that. And Russell was, it's very hard to really describe my feelings for Russell here on this show because in a year and a half, he sent me tons of emails, passionate about the veterans, passionate about gun control, passionate about his family, passionate about many, many things. And you would find it hard to believe, as I did, but it actually is true. We got friendly, and at Christmas time, Russell said, why don't you come over to the house for Christmas dinner? I said, well, I have family dinner, but I will come over before that. And I did. Met his whole family. So I felt as though I was part of their family and he was part of mine. So 3 people that are all connected in one way or another to me passed away this week. Sympathies to all of the families and all of you. Thank you and rest in peace. We're coming back with Freeholder John Risley right after these words.
If you've never been to B.F. Mazzio Fruit and Produce, what are you waiting for? You don't know what you're missing. B.F. Mazzio Fruit and Produce has the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. Better than your local supermarket. Quality and freshness are second to none. B.F. Mazzio, Route 9 and Chestnut Avenue. That's New Road, Northfield. Also features homemade prepared foods and fresh baked homemade pies. Chances are you'll be entertaining soon. B.F. Mazzio is the place for all your party needs. B.F. Mazzio online at bfmazzio.com. 609-641-6608. B.F. Mazzio, Route 9, Northfield.
Trust Universal Supply Company. Serving both the residential and commercial segments, Universal Supply has been the preferred supplier of roofing, siding, and exterior millwork products to contractors and remodelers in New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, and Northern Delaware since 1965. The ingredients for success are simple, an unwavering commitment to customers, and a dedicated approach to service excellence. For over half a century, Universal Supply has prided itself on providing its customers with a vast selection of premium brand name products, competitive pricing, and unsurpassed customer service. With 13 locations throughout New Jersey, including 5 cabinetry design centers, Universal is uniquely positioned to provide unmatched service to area builders and remodelers. As an industry leader, they feature the #1 brand in many product categories, including GAF Roofing, CertainTeed Siding, and Anderson Windows. Trust Universal Supply Company. Visit Universal Supply for more information. Universal Supply is a proud sponsor of the Judge Donio Hour.
You're in a situation where you know you need an attorney. So how do you choose? You could choose an attorney who has argued successfully before the New Jersey Supreme Court. That same attorney who has handled unique cases where others did not achieve the best results. That attorney is Scott Becker. Yes, that's the same Scott Becker who's been practicing since 1977. Scott Becker, former mayor of Ventnor, who has won a multi-million-dollar settlement for an area church, and who has also taken on several insurance cases and insurance fraud. When it comes to criminal matters, Scott Becker is one of the best. Keep this number handy. Scott Becker, attorney at law, 609-383-0559. 609-383-0559. Scott Becker would like to congratulate Judge Donio on his successful new career as a radio and TV analyst.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, 609-407-1450. If you have questions for our next guest, he is John Risley, freeholder from Atlantic County, and he's running for re-election. We're happy to have him here on the program, 609-407-1450. John, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Good morning. It's great to be here, John. Thank you for having me on the show, and good morning to everyone listening.
Tell me what freeholders do.
Okay. Well,
because, that's one of those, freeholders. Well, tell us what they do.
We are the legislative branch of county government. You have the administrative branch, which is the county executive, which is Mr. Levinson. And then you have the legislative branch, which is the Board of Freeholders. There are 9 freeholders. There are 4 elected at large and 5 elected by various districts in the county, which is a different system than many other counties have. So there is another county or two that has our system in the state, but most counties have a little bit different system. Our system has worked well for Atlantic County in the fact that it has provided representation from certain areas of the county, whether it be from the eastern side, west, north, or south of the county. It's provided good representation. I'm currently running for re-election for a freeholder. When I'm at large freeholder, which means I represent all 23 municipalities in the county. And we're going to be having our convention very soon, March the 25th, Republican Convention, where we'll put together an entire slate of candidates. We basically have that slate together now. I'm very happy to be running with the folks that are on the ticket with me.
All right. Why should people vote for John Risley?
Well, John Risley is a very passionate person when it comes to government. I think it's important for a voter to know a person's roots and beliefs because all of this transcends into the decision-making process and to what they're going to do. I'm an activist. I've been involved in government for many, many years in many different ways. I'm currently serving in my 16th year on the Board of Freeholders. I kind of did it in 2 pieces. I'm vice chairman of the Freeholder Board, chairman of the Budget Committee. I'm the representative to the South Jersey Transportation Planning Organization, which is a 4-county entity I'm also the representative and vice chair of the South Jersey Economic Development District, which is another entity represented by 4 counties. So I'm very, very involved, very busy. It's a passion. I kind of liken it, John, to someone who is teaching Sunday school or coaching or whatever it happens to be. This is my passion. I like to see government done and government done right. My lineage, so to speak, on the Risley side, my family came to America in 1633, and my great-great-uncle was the first mayor of Pleasantville.
How about that?
My great-grandfather was mayor of Margate in the 20s and 30s. And on the Leeds side of the family, Risley married to Leeds. The first settler of Atlantic City was Jeremiah Leeds, and my grandmother was direct descendant of Jeremiah Leeds. And, of course, the first mayor was Chalkley Leeds. And there's been a number of history there. So when I grew up as a kid, I had all this history poured down to me, so to speak.
So you kind of had a run, right?
Risley and the Leeds side of the family, and that's who I am.
Right.
I had 2 passions when I was in high school growing up. One was to be in the investments and the stock market business, which I am, and I own a stock brokerage firm in Linwood. And the other passion was politics, history, government. And it's a passion, and I enjoy talking about it. In fact, I'll be speaking before a class at ACC on March the 8th about government and how it works.
Good stuff. Now, I wanted to ask you, try to help me out and help us out here. With this whole issue of the county and Atlantic City with the pilot, 13.5%, 10%, the mayor says we can't give you 13.5%, but Mr. Levinson came out and said you agreed to that. I'm very confused. Can you kind of help us with this?
We are. And I'll tell you why. The pilot bill was really a poorly written bill. It's got more holes in it than Swiss cheese. When you see these types of bills come down the pike, different controls, philosophically, they never really work well. We don't know as of yet how the Division of Taxation nor the Board of Local Finance, which governs us when it comes to budgets, how this is all going to fall out. We have about 4 different budget scenarios right now. As chairman of the Budget Committee, I don't know what we're doing at the moment because we don't have the direction from Trenton about how different things are going to be interpreted. A lot of these things are open for interpretation. Now, the governor has made it very clear in the past that we're going to get the 13.7%. We're going to, be able to include casinos in the base and so on and so forth, and we're just waiting for the direction, from those 2 entities. Hopefully this doesn't end up in court. This was the deal. Look, the other 22 municipalities would have never gone along with this idea if it was going to dramatically alter their current situation.
Right.
It should be fairly obvious. So that's where Mr. Levinson is absolutely correct on. We're going to hold our ground and dig in and battle for everything for the entire county because we represent the whole county. So that's what it's important.
So if you don't get the money, and you said the governor said you're going to get that, but that's like saying, you're going to get rain, but you don't know when.
Right.
So,
right.
So you don't know when you're going to get it, right?
Hopefully we'll know more by the end of this month, early next month. We'll know a whole lot more how this is all going to play out. We have different scenarios showing, no increase, maybe a nickel increase. We just don't know, and we don't want to increase taxes. That's something we just don't want to do. People are having a tough enough time as is. We're trying very, very earnestly to work on economic development, and that's what it's all about, economic development and jobs. That's our focus and has to be our focus.
I agree with you. And there appears to be some light at the end of the tunnel now with the Hard Rock coming in, and hopefully the Revel, or now 10, will be open before long.
Right.
We're hoping on that. But I wanted to ask you, with this 13.5, 13.7, 10, could this end up in court?
It could.
And then what does that do to the budget if you don't get that money? Because you said all the municipalities depend on the county.
Right.
So where's this going to leave everybody?
We may, if it goes against us, we may have to make further cuts in the budget. We have, look, we've been trying to reduce the budget down as far as we can. We contract certain things out when we can. When it's cheaper to do them in-house, we do them in-house. Like county coroners, we ended county coroners, now we're in the state program. So we probably won't get as rapid a good a service, but, we have to do what we got to do to try to reduce the budget down as much as possible. And, our social services part of the budget, unfortunately, has increased because of the tremendous need and so many people being, in a bad way. We've had to actually hire, and we're ordered to hire more people in our social services department to service the people and take the applications as they come in.
All right, John Risley is with us. He is the Atlantic County freeholder. He's running for re-election. He is a freeholder at large. We're talking about some of the county issues and what freeholders do. We have some more time with Mr. Risley. Here's your chance to talk to a freeholder. I mean, you don't get that many chances to do that, do you? 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450 with John Risley, freeholder John Risley. I'm John DeMasi. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose after these words.
If you've never been to BF Mazzeo Fruit and Produce, what are you waiting for? You don't know what you're missing? BF Mazzeo Fruit and Produce has the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. Better than your local supermarket. Quality and freshness are second to none. BF Mazzeo, Route 9 and Chestnut Avenue. That's New Road, Northfield. Also features homemade prepared foods and fresh baked homemade pies. Chances are you'll be entertaining soon. BF Mazzeo is the place for all your party needs. BF Mazzeo online at bfmazzeo.com. 609-641-6608. BF Mazzeo, Route 9, Northfield.
Trust Universal Supply Company. Serving both the residential and commercial segments, Universal Supply has been the preferred supplier of roofing, siding, and exterior millwork products to contractors and remodelers in New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, and Northern Delaware since 1965. The ingredients for success are simple, an unwavering commitment to customers, and a dedicated approach to service excellence. For over half a century, Universal Supply has prided itself on providing its customers with a vast selection of premium brand name products, competitive pricing, and unsurpassed customer service. With 13 locations throughout New Jersey, including 5 cabinetry design centers, Universal is uniquely positioned to provide unmatched service to area builders and remodelers. As an industry leader, they feature the #1 brand in many product categories, including GAF roofing, CertainTeed siding, and Anderson windows. Trust Universal Supply Company. Visit Universal Supply for more information. Universal Supply is a proud sponsor of the Judge Donio Hour.
You're in a situation where you know you need an attorney. So how do you choose? You could choose an attorney who has argued successfully before the New Jersey Supreme Court. That same attorney who has handled unique cases where others did not achieve the best results. That attorney is Scott Becker. Yes, that's the same Scott Becker who's been practicing since 1977. Scott Becker, former mayor of Ventnor, who has won a multi-million-dollar settlement for an area church, and who has also taken on several insurance cases and insurance fraud. When it comes to criminal matters, Scott Becker is one of the best. Keep this number handy. Scott Becker, attorney at law, 609-383-0559. 609-383-0559. Scott Becker would like to congratulate Judge Donio on his successful new career as a radio and TV analyst.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, I'm John DeMasi. Every Saturday we're here 9 to noon, WPG Talk Radio 104.1. Freeholder John Risley is with us. He's freeholder at large in Atlantic County, running for re-election, and we'll get right to the questions. Gary is in Galloway. Gary, good morning. You're on with Freeholder Risley.
Well, good morning. I was wondering, is it possible that you could lower property taxes if you're elected? Because the taxes are so high, a lot of people had to move out of the state because they can't afford to live here.
Well, you're absolutely right, sir.
The state itself is nice. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because of the situation that we're in and because of our declining rateable base, I got to be absolutely honest with you and straightforward as I can. The odds of lowering the tax rate in Atlantic County is probably pretty thin. We have a dramatically declining rateable base from a high of $58 billion to down to around $32 billion. That's the economic realities of it. We've been fortunate to be able to hold the line as best we can. That's the fight. We're one portion of your tax bill. Obviously, there's a municipal portion. There's also a school portion. Maybe it's a local or regional school system as well. So there's a number of components that go into your tax bill. We're trying to do our part to try to keep it as level and as flat as we can.
Well, what about if you're elected governor? Do you think you can lower
you write me the check, sir, and I will run. Okay.
If you got a little,
absolutely.
Yeah, Gary, thanks a lot for the call. We appreciate
you,
it. Yeah, if you got a little $10 million laying around, that'll help you out, right?
That would help out.
Okay.
I currently have $200 in my campaign account right now, so for all the world to see. So, the worst part of running for office is raising money. You need a chunk of money to be able to get your message out there, obviously. I enjoy serving. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the work. It's very varied on the Freeholder Board. And, one of the things that I'm most proud of, a number of things, but one of the things was an issue that was near and dear to Russ Bongiovanni's heart, and that's veterans issues. I was the freeholder years ago who pushed for and finally got the Office of Veterans Affairs, so to speak, for Atlantic County. A Veteran Service Officer is the proper terminology. I proposed it at one freeholder meeting, and it didn't go anywhere. I proposed at another freeholder meeting, and at that freeholder meeting, I had a number of gentlemen who were Purple Hearts standing around the room, so we were able to get it through, and that's a great thing for our veterans. We can never do enough for our veterans. I learned quite a bit about it. I was never in the military. My dad was, and unfortunately, he died early. He did go to a VA hospital in Ellesmere, Delaware, which I used to drive him down there for treatment. He didn't know what benefits he was entitled to. He didn't think he was entitled to anything because he was only in for a few years.
Right.
He wasn't a retiree. He was in for a few years. But you are, in fact, entitled to certain VA benefits, and I learned quite a bit about that. So that's one one situation I'm very passionate about. Another one, of course, is what we've been able to achieve with the Stockton Aviation Research and Technology Park. That's really quite a long story, but I'm going to try to shorten it up.
You got about 3 minutes.
I'm going to shorten it up as quickly as I can. The reason why that didn't occur as quickly as it has is because the park was initially started by the South Jersey Economic Development District, SJEDD for short. When I got back on the Freeholder Board, January of 2012, the district was basically defunct and blowing up and underwater, way underwater.
Wow.
I volunteered to go on that board as Atlantic County representative about April or May of 2012. It took us a couple of years, quite frankly, to right the ship. And what's important about this whole topic is the building and the property out there and the work that was done was a South Jersey Economic Development District project.
Right.
All right? And, we had to eventually transfer this by order of the government, EDA, to the Stockton Aviation Research and Technology Park, which we have today. The reason why it took so long is because we would go to these meetings, we demanded monthly meetings, and we'd go to these different meetings, and every month it'd be like the book of Revelation. How did this happen? Who ordered this? It was a mess. It was an absolute mess. The FBI was even looking at it. There was lots of issues with the project. So finally, we got the relief that we needed from the Inspector General of the United States, who put a halt on the whole thing. We were able to transfer that lease, and now it's under the Stockton Aviation Research and Technology Park. We're going to be building buildings. We're going to be having and encouraging aerospace and airline type of companies, aviation companies, to come in and rent space and build a true aviation research and technology park. So that's why it's important to Atlantic County residents.
When's it going to happen? When do you think?
We're going to break ground on buildings this year, no question about it. We have tremendous interest from various companies. The economic model of the aerospace industry is not to build, it's not to buy, it's to rent. That's their economic model. So just like other areas, like New York State is encouraging different development, this is what we're doing here.
Well, we'll have you back on.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll have you back on.
It's a big topic.
Good luck in the race. John Risley, freeholder at large in Atlantic County, running for re-election. You and the rest of the world running for re-election this year. Everybody's running, right? The whole legislature is up for re-election.
That's the way it works.
Good luck. Good luck,
Thank
John
you.
Risley.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time. Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 104.1. I'm John DeMasi. Coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, well, John was the lead-in for the man who many are saying is the next governor of the state of New Jersey. I'm not saying it. The polls are saying it. Phil Murphy, Democratic candidate for governor. He's coming up in our 10 o'clock hour. We'll talk to him about his platform and policy should he become governor. So stay tuned. More Talk with a Purpose coming up. Don't go away.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1, WPGG Atlantic City, WSJO 104.9 HD2 Egg Harbor City, South Jersey's talk station.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump on Twitter is claiming he just found out President Obama had his phones at Trump Tower tap before the election. He's not giving any evidence for that accusation, and no one with the Obama administration has commented. Yesterday,
President Trump launched a Twitter war with the Senate Minority Leader over Russia. The first shot, a 13-year-old photo of Chuck Schumer sharing a donut with Vladimir Putin. The president writing, quote, "We should start an immediate investigation into Senator